Welcome back, Daily Balance family. Listen up. Today's guest is proving that hope is stronger than fear. Joining us is Messier, MBA, a nationally recognized speaker, advocate, and stage 4 male breast cancer survivor. As one of the approximately 1% of men diagnosed with breast cancer, Jake has turned his personal journey into a powerful mission to educate, inspire, and save lives. He's the creator of the world's largest male breast cancer community on social media and a trained clinical advocate working to improve research, awareness, and patient care. Today, Jake joins the Daily Balance podcast to share a story of resilience, courage, and purpose that you won't forget. Please join us in welcoming Jake Messier.
Okay, Jake. Thank you for joining us and being with us and helping us break the silence.
Yes.
How are you today?
I'm great, guys. How are you? It's been a
We're doing
good day up
great.
here in New England. I'm in Western Massachusetts, and I'm looking out my window right now, and the grass is finally turning green, and the flowers are starting to come out. So
Well,
it's
that's
a
a
nice
good
day
thing.
here. Yep.
Okay. Well, we hope those allergies don't take you out in the meantime.
So true.
So, I hear you have an announcement today.
What's that?
Something
Oh,
really important came up today. You want to share
well,
that with our audience?
should we go back? Should we go back and tell the backstory of what led to that, or do we want to go from the
Break it
announcement and go
all
back?
the way down.
All right,
Break
there
it
we go.
all the way down.
We're gonna lead with the announcement
Okay.
where I was named today to the Susan G. Komen Metastatic Breast Cancer Steering Committee. And
Yay! Pause for the cup. Oh
yes,
yes.
thank you.
Congratulations.
And that's a big deal
Right.
because there have been very few, if any, we're sort of going back and trying to figure it out, men on any of the Komen national boards. There have been, male doctors and male donors and stuff like that, but in terms of male breast cancer patients or survivors, like very, very few have served on the national board. So it's not so much about something that I've done. It's literally that breast cancer is finally, when I say breast cancer, is finally starting to accept that men are a very small part of it. And for decades, and I mean decades, it's been vastly overlooked. So I guess if we go back in time, hi, I'm Jake. Um, I got
Nice to meet you,
um,
Jay.
I got diagnosed with stage 2 invasive ductal carcinoma in September of 2023. And if you back that up 6 more months to about March, that's when I was putting on some deodorant, and I was like, oh, I felt a lump, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And I went on with my day, right? Because men are never taught ever that if you find a lump in this region that you tell somebody, you call, you know,
Yeah.
women are taught in health class in 6th grade that when you find a lump, you tell somebody, right? And that's
Right.
just, it's very common in women's health care, right?
Absolutely.
It's just not taught. So I waited about 6 months till I finally went to my primary care, and he was like, he listed off about 10 things that it could be. None of them were breast cancer. But he said, just to be sure, let's send you for a mammogram, right? Just, it's not that, but let's just make sure. And, thank goodness he did. I go for a mammogram, and they're like, well, we think there's something here. And I'm like, what do you mean there's something? What are you talking about? First of all, trying to get a mammogram as a guy is very difficult. It is.
I
You
mean,
know,
I
there's
get
just
that.
not a lot of tissue there. If we're going to be scientific, there's not a lot of tissue there to get. So, mammograms are for, and I'm, it's not just men that have this little tissue, but at the same time, it's difficult, right? And
Right.
and and also like women starting in their 40s are getting mammograms and they're sort of used to it. Here I am, a 52-year-old guy at the time, 50,
Yeah.
52, 53. And I'm like, why am I in this women's health clinic where everything is pink? And what the hell is going on?
Oh,
And I get a mammogram, and then a doctor, well, actually, the nurse, this is an important part of the story because a nurse who was in the, she has been in a million mammograms, right? She's the one that squeezes the breast and all the things, right?
Yes.
She's been in a million of these things, and she has seen a million
Yeah.
breast
Boobs.
cancers, right? But she's
Right.
also seen, like, she's seen when people get cancer, right? Now she can't tell me,
Okay.
and
Okay.
so we're both. This is my first time ever looking at a scan. Right? I'm a pro now. I'm 3 years into this now. I mean, I can read
You know
scans
what you're
like a
looking
pro
at
now.
now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But at the time, I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm looking
Yeah.
around, and I'm like, oh, I guess there's my nipple, and I don't know what I'm looking at here.
Yeah.
And I said, so I know you can't tell me if I have breast cancer. I have to wait for the doctor because we were both waiting for the doctor.
Mhm.
And I said, but can you tell me? And she goes, I can't. But what I can tell you is that your life is going to become incredibly fast and incredibly slow at the exact same time. And I will tell you that nothing has been more to the truth from that moment on
Wow.
than my life has gone. Like that conversation seems like it happened about 4 days ago and
Yeah.
about 40 years ago. I mean,
Wow.
everything has contracted and everything else. So, I get diagnosed, and I tell my story now a little bit differently than when I used to tell my story. I've been
Well, before
doing this
you
for a number of years.
continue,
Yeah, by all
let
means,
me,
please ask the questions.
because you're talking about the initial part, and
Mm-hmm.
when you felt that knot the
Yeah.
first
Oh, the
time.
lump. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So let me ask
Get
you,
into
what
your
was the
brain.
internal
Yeah.
monologue going on in
Yeah.
your head when you did breast cancer even enter your mind?
No,
What did you
not at
think?
all. I literally thought, and I say that, I literally thought that's weird.
Oh, yeah.
And then literally a month later, I'm like, oh, that hasn't gone away yet. Oh, and that,
Wow.
I mean, we'll get into this in a little bit, but like, this is the reason why male breast cancer is 30% more fatal than female breast cancer.
Right.
30%.
Yeah.
Because we are diagnosed later, because we're not taught these things. And then when I say we go to a pink waiting room, and I'll go back, I'm not going to go, but like the whole pink world, you have
Yeah.
to be okay with that. You have to, because it is 99%, right? 99% of breast cancer cases are women, 1% are men. 2,800 men a year in the US are going to get it. And so, no, I didn't think at all, like, man, could this be cancer? I'm not thinking that at all. But I will tell you this. Right before I got diagnosed, I went down to visit my best friend. He hates it when I tell this story because he's like, at first he was like, oh my God, did I cause the cancer? And I'm like, no, you didn't
Oh.
cause the cancer.
Oh my gosh.
So this is my best friend. We've been best friends for 30 years. And, guys being guys. And I'll say this as delicately as I could. I was walking by him. We're military buddies, right? We were in the military together, 25 years ago. And I'm walking by him, and he reaches out and he gives me a purple nurple or a ditty twister or whatever. And and that's just what.
I wasn't prepared. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready.
We weren't ready for that one. But here's what happened. Like, it dropped me to my knees. And I was like the most intense pain shot from here up to my neck. And I was like, okay, I mean, those things normally don't feel good, right? However, like, it
Extra.
shouldn't be like that. Like, that was much. And so
Oh,
that was what initially I was like, okay, maybe something is more wrong. Maybe, but I wasn't like, this is cancer. Like, I thought, okay, this is a cyst, this is whatever, but like, it's not cancer.
And I guess for my question is, how did it feel to be like the only man in the room full of women fighting this battle?
It is something that I face every day, right? I go to breast cancer conferences. There are 700 women there and me, right? When I went in for my mastectomy, the OR nurses I give them the benefit of the doubt, right? I'm not trying to be unkind to them, but the OR nurses didn't put a surgical bind on me, which is something they're supposed to do right after a mastectomy, because they were like, well, the only ones we had were pink and with flowers. And I'm like,
Oh.
do you think I'm going to turn down a medical device because it had, I'm like, well, of course, put it on me. But like, that's the pervasiveness of living in the pink world. And as I said earlier, this is one of the reasons why breast cancer in men is much more fatal. There's this, I went through a pretty, I would say from about after the initial shock of, oh my God, I have cancer, right? Right. There's that part, right? I have cancer. I'm 52 years old. I shouldn't have this. And then you go, wait, I have breast cancer. Wait, hold on. Wait, I have breast cancer.
It's crazy.
And that's another level that you have to work through, right? I went through probably a 6 month phase, pretty depressed, extremely emasculated, not knowing where I fit in this world. You know, every piece of literature you wrote, you open up says women and her and she, and there's no pictures of you or people that look like you anywhere.
Wow.
And I will tell you, you know, I'm a really progressive liberal anyway, but it was the first time in my life as a straight white man that I ever felt really, really isolated from society, right? And I'm talking to two women here who probably feel that on a daily basis, but
Wow.
in breast cancer, we are the extreme minority to the point where if I had to guess between all the men that I've talked to, there's about 20 to 25% of breast cancer that does not want us in it, right? That does not want men represented in it because, and I've been told this to my face, men have too much voice in this world, which is something I don't necessarily agree with. But like men have too much voice in this world. You're not taking mine away from me. And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to take away your voice. I am literally just trying to
To be
make
a voice.
people understood that men can get breast cancer. Like breast tissue is breast tissue. If you're a human mammal, you have breast tissue. It doesn't matter what you identify as your gender. You have breast tissue, and that's what it is. And so there is this, you have to be okay with living in the pink world, right? And I've embraced it and been, look, I mean, my pink sisters out there and my pink brothers out there, my pink and blue brothers. Um, you know, but yeah, it was. I mean, I've had two therapists during my cancer journey. Right, I had my first therapist that got me over the oh my God, I have cancer, and there's this whole big jarring change in my life. I was I was a successful businessman. I owned my own marketing agency. We were the largest nonprofit marketing agency in New England, servicing huge organizations and all these things. And I had a team of 14 people, and we were crushing it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I get breast cancer, right? And I have a small business of people that have been very, very, very loyal to me for a long time. We had the business for 7 years. And I worked every day through my cancer treatment, right? So I would have chemo in the morning, and then I'd come home and do 5 or 6 client calls in the afternoon, and then try to sleep and then write some social copy for a client, and then write a press release, and then get some more sleep. And I did that for 2 years. And then when I became metastatic, and that's a little bit of a different story, because you go from stage 2 to stage 3. And then when I went to stage 4, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to get any better, right? And the goal is to not get any worse, right? But I'm never not going to be in this cancer battle. That's the thing. And that's when I decided to sell the agency. I sold it to my most trusted lieutenant, who's running it, and she has her own version of it, and she has rebranded it, and she's doing wonderful things, and it makes me really proud, because she's like, I learned everything from you, and she was with me literally from day one of my company all the way to the last day. And And I was proud to give her her own little company, and
Yeah.
you know, and so, but at that time I'm like, well, what the hell am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Because
Well, you talk a little bit about, you talked a little bit about that initial shock and everything, but let's talk a little bit about, and I think you've mentioned this before in some of your talks. Let's talk a little bit about the kind of medical gaslighting that happens with men because, some doctors don't expect to see this. So, did you have to
yeah,
push for that initial biopsy?
I didn't have to push because my doctor had sent me for the mammogram and they found something funky, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Where I've seen certainly gaslighting, or certainly that I don't know if it's gaslighting
Mm-hmm.
or just straight up ignorance. And I don't mean ignorance in a negative way. I
Yeah.
mean ignorance as in you don't know something. And
Okay. Yeah.
that's different than ignorance. Ignorance has a lot of negative connotations to
Right.
it, but
Yeah.
ignorance is just you don't know something,
You don't
right?
know.
Right.
And maybe there's some doctors and nurses that were hung over on that day in medical school when they covered male breast cancer, because it's not covered very extensively, right? It's like,
Right.
oh yeah,
Right.
and guys can get it too, basically. When you're covering breast cancer, it's like, oh yeah,
Yes.
and men.
Mhm.
So if they were, whatever, if they were flirting with their seatmate or they were hung over that day or whatever medical students are, I'm not, I'm kidding. But it's not taught in medical school. So
Right.
yes, I've been around people that have MDs next to their name that go, wait, guys can get breast cancer? Like, and I'm
Wow.
like, uh, and I've been around nurses. I mean, there's an example, and I did a post about this, and it's funny because it's funny what gets traction on social media, right? I do this whole post about this,
Yeah.
and people take it in an entire side tangent, and I'm like, all right,
Yes.
well, whatever. The
I
comments are the
know.
comments,
Yes.
and the likes are the likes, so whatever.
Mhm.
But my wife went in for her mammogram, and the woman working the desk, who my wife thought was a nurse, but could have, but by everybody's comments, probably wasn't, but whatever. The fact that she was working the desk at the mammogram clinic, and she told my wife, because my wife was explaining, I'm a little bit hypersensitive for breast cancer because my husband is stage 4. And the woman working the desk at the mammogram clinic was like, wait, guys can get breast cancer? Like, and so, like, obviously, I don't know if that person maybe is their 4th day on the job. I mean, I have no idea, but like, I
Right?
try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I really do. I try to give people that benefit because you know it is just, there's stats out there that say like 80% of people that have breast cancer in their family, right? Their mom has it, their sister has it, their wife has it,
Mhm.
whatever. 80% of those people don't know that guys can get breast cancer. Like, breast cancer is a part of their life, and they're like, wait, what? And that's the kind of, we are, and when I say we, as in men, we are 70 years behind where women are in breast cancer now.
Seven.
We are at the we're in the 1950s or 1960s where we are just like, hey, breast cancer's a thing. And people are like, maybe. And that's really where we're at. And
Right.
I don't want to over dramatize the maybe, but like, and people accept it, but like, it is not widely well known.
Mm.
And look, it is still a rare disease.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But because breast cancer, and I would say breast cancer as a whole, right, male and female, because breast cancer as a whole is the most funded, the most researched, the most donated to, the most
That's true.
everything of all the cancers, right? Breast cancer rules them all, right? It's
Right.
it's
True.
sort of like, when you look at the US Defense Department budget versus everybody else's defense, it's like massive. It's like that. Like, breast cancer is way over here with
Yeah.
all of this money over here, right?
Yes.
And everybody else gets, and I'm not saying, but like,
Yeah.
the
In
fact that
comparison.
there
Yeah.
the fact that there has never, and I put a little asterisk next to it now because there's currently one, there has never in the history of breast cancer research and funding been a specific study on the differences between male and female breast cancer ever in the history of breast cancer research. Like,
Ever?
come on, like, we are so behind. And
Oh.
I'm going to put that little asterisk because my oncologist, I go to Dana-Farber in Boston, very world renowned.
Mm-hmm.
And my oncologist is Dr. Pablo Leone. He's I put him on my social every once in a while. Everybody's like, oh, I love his dimples. He's a cute little, he's great. He's awesome. He saved my life multiple times, so I can, he's great. So,
Well, we had a
Dana-Farber,
question for you.
hold on one second. Dana-Farber has the only male breast cancer department in the world. In the world of any
That's
facility.
crazy. Just
And
really?
Dr. Leone is the head of that, and he happens to be my doctor. So my doctor, in theory,
Wow.
is the head of the only male breast cancer department in the world, and he tells me all the time, Jake, I have to treat you like I treat the other women in my practice because I don't know any way to treat you any differently. There has never been a study or anything done that tells me to treat you. So I get treated with all the same medications and everything else that a woman would, but nobody knows if that's the best thing for me.
Right.
I mean, there are things that work,
Right.
but again, more men die. So maybe if we paid some attention to the biology, we could make some changes. So anyway, yes, please continue with the question. I'm sorry. I know I ramble a lot.
Let's
so
talk about it.
We're
We're
going to have
good.
to get into that because
Sure.
we clearly need to get some more funding and research to male breast cancer. But getting into the manhood, back to this pink.
Sure.
Did it actually give you like a new definition of what it was to be like a strong man? Did it challenge your manhood or did it give you a new definition?
100%, when I talk about that emasculation, when you talk about that, it is a women's disease, and that is the way it is presented to society and culture, right?
Yes.
It is a women's disease.
Unfortunately.
And it is shameful. So it is like, well, how do I get, so not only are you battling breast cancer, right, which is hard enough as it is, right? The physical tolls, the mental tolls, the emotional tolls, everything that goes into it. But then you layer on top of that, I do not belong in this disease to anybody. When I went to my care team, they were like, oh, we want him because, we've only had 2 guys ever in our entire department that have, treated men. So yes, we want to have this, so, it is very, very, very isolating and emasculating and all of those things. And you have to get through that. And so I will tell you that my journey in that was a lot easier because 3 years before, let's go back a couple more years. In 2018, I had a stroke when I was 46 years old. I was about 300 pounds. I smoked occasionally. I drank too much. I was way too stressed out at work. I was way too stressed out about my family, all of these things, and I had a stroke. But it didn't it wasn't an immediate wake-up call because 2019, I didn't change, right? I didn't do anything different. I sort of, I tried a little bit, but, I didn't really change that much.
Okay.
And then, so at the end of 2019, I am over 300 pounds. And I said to myself, well, I'm going to make a choice here. I used New Year's like a lot of people do. I'm going to do something here or I'm not. Right.
Right.
And so December 2020, January 2020 rolls around and then COVID rolls around.
Oh,
right?
Lord,
So,
COVID. I was like,
right.
2020.
So COVID rolls around. And if you remember, everybody's out walking, right? Because nobody can do anything, right? So everybody's just walking everywhere.
And drinking.
And so I walked off 120 pounds.
Crazy.
I literally used yoga and meditation and walking and diet, but not anything crazy. I didn't do anything that if I didn't eat a piece of bread and then all of a sudden I eat a piece of bread when I'm done, I'm going to, I did normal, I just put less food in my mouth. And during that process, I also realized that a lot of my weight gain and my stress issues and everything else were dealing with untold trauma that from my childhood and I was in the Marine Corps, lots of things. So I put myself through 2 years of intense therapy where I completely turned over every rock in my soul
Ooh.
and owned up for the BS that I had done over the
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah.
And I made a list of about 48 people that I owed apologies to and that I had wronged in my life. And I went and sought them out and expressed to them that these were the things that I was really sorry for. I changed who I was as a human being. And because of that, boy, the weight loss was a lot easier. The weight just sort of fell off when I dealt with all that emotional,
Yeah.
mental, spiritual
You get
baggage.
rid of a lot of baggage,
That's deep.
and the
And
weight fell off
then
with it.
it really did. And so
That's really deep.
so that was 2020, 21, 22. And then 23, I'm diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, right? So I'm like, wait, what the hell? I go through this whole process
Yeah.
of bettering myself. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm now at 180 pounds. I'm doing yoga 6 days a week. I'm meditating. It's crazy. I'm
I'm doing
flexible. I'm
everything I'm
walking.
supposed to do.
Right. And then I get cancer.
Yeah.
Oh,
And chances are I had cancer long before I was diagnosed, right? I'm not, I had cancer for a while before they found it. So,
So let's talk a little bit about the history. Genetics often play a huge role in in breast cancer, specifically the BRCA2 mutation. Okay, so did this diagnosis lead to a detective mission, like even within your own family tree? And if it did, how did you change that relationship with your relatives? How did that change it at all?
so I will answer it very succinctly is that I don't have a BRCA2 mutation. Um, and so I had genetic testing as soon as I was done because I have kids and I have grandkids and I
Okay.
want to know how my parents are, I want to know up and down the line what's happening because we went sort of back up to my great grandparents and nobody was like, yeah, there's no cancer in the family. Like we don't have a genetic code. And so I am a complete anomaly in the family.
Mm,
And so
mm.
when we got genetic tested and it came back as negative, which obviously I'm very happy with because
Yes.
again I have children and I have grandchildren and I would hate to be
Day.
passing that along, right? And it happens
Yeah.
right.
all the time, but and I've passed along other things genetically, right? But no, not that one.
Yeah.
So
Keep that one off.
but yeah, I mean, so mine's environmental, right? Mine was earned, right? And and a lot of this points to, I was in the Marine Corps for 10 years
Mhm.
and there are the numbers of men with breast cancer that are also veterans. That is a big overlap. And so there is, there's a lot of things. I was stationed at Camp Lejeune for 3 years. And so you see all the ads for Camp Lejeune if you were stationed here and the toxic
Yes.
water, all that stuff. And
You're
so,
down here by us, so that's Camp Lejeune. Yeah, we're familiar with
yep,
that water issue.
That's
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Okay, so let's get into like your partners and friends and any men going through this. The support role can look awkward because there's really no manual, right? So what did your support system do or say that like actually helped? And what should people do and what should people stop doing?
When they share that news, yeah.
Yep. So I've been extremely blessed and lucky to have like the best support network. Not just my family. I mean, certainly my wife, who is my best friend. Um, and it's not like cancer made us any closer. In fact, we were both going through that same journey I was talking about before, that emotional spirit. We both went through it at the exact same time by happenstance.
That's
And
awesome.
so when we came out the other side, we were literally, you know, perfect
Oh,
for each other.
love
And then
that.
I get cancer. Um, and then she takes on this role as caregiver, right, which is a different role. And she says, we took vows, and I'm like, yeah, but this is different, right? You weren't supposed to be doing this at 47, right? That's not what this was meant. You're not supposed to be here. But my wife is amazing. I have, some amazing children, and my daughter who moved. Her daughter and her husband and my grandkids. They were living in Texas when I was originally diagnosed, and my daughter was like, I want to be there to help. I want to be there to have a relationship with you. I want to,
Yes.
see what this is, And so we have a huge house in Western Massachusetts in the foothills of the
I
Berkshires.
love
And so
that.
all of us, there's 8 of us that live together in this communal home.
I
My
love
wife and
that.
I live on the first floor. My daughter and the grandkids they live on the second floor. And then
Need my
we
own
have a
floor.
16-year-old.
Don't give
We
any
have a
ideas.
16 year
I'm just
and
I,
I love it. I mean,
same thing
I get to
here.
be
I
the
just need
everyday
my own floor.
grandparent, and it's great. It's great. But especially during this time, right? When I could certainly use help. I mean, we live on a 4-acre property, and and certainly my son-in-law and my son help with those things. But it's the emotional support is probably the most important. Having them around. So having that here is amazing. Then I go out to my parents and my brother and sister-in-law, and then my best friend happens to be married to my wife's best friend, and so we are
Oh,
a
perfect.
quadruple. And so like it works
oh,
perfectly.
I love
And
that.
so and
Amazing.
they've been extreme. And then we have my 2 best friends from college, and so
I
that's the
love it.
core group. And then it goes out to like when I started the social network, when I started doing this on social, when I started doing this public,
Yeah.
like the community that we've amassed, this 50,000 people that we engage with every day,
Mhm.
and that community is very important to me.
Yeah.
Like social media has its downfall. Believe me,
Yeah.
I know. I've been working in social media for 20 years. It
Yes.
sucks in a lot of ways. I get it.
It really does,
However,
doesn't it?
the cancer community, on the people that embrace you from afar, and it's just a really beautiful place to be. So my support network has been
Incredible.
amazing. But I also know that there are a lot of people that don't have those kinds of support networks.
Yeah.
And I will say this specifically when it comes to male breast cancer. When you are a woman and you don't have that kind of a support network like I do, right? Maybe you're single, maybe you're not living near your family and you're battling this from, maybe you're living in LA and your family's all in Cleveland or something like that, right? You never know. If you're a woman, there's about 2,000, 2,500 breast cancer organizations throughout the country that a lot of them will bend over backwards, especially for the women that don't have immediate support networks, right? And there's a lot of support there.
Yes.
There are 3 male breast cancer organizations in the country. 3. And they're all very small nonprofits that are just trying to educate. And the Male Breast Cancer Global Alliance, they're giving research dollars, which thank goodness. I mean, whoever will, put men into their research,
Yes.
great, we'll give you a little bit of money to try and come up with some male stuff over here. But there are 3. And so when guys first get diagnosed and I go on there looking up male breast cancer, I'm like, well, I find breast cancer stuff everywhere, and it's all just pamphlets for women. And so, again, you go back to that, and it's disheartening over and over and over again. And you have to either get used to it and overcome it, or you can get swept away in it.
Well, you need to be the contributor to make that change at this point.
Yes. Keep
And it
talking.
sounds like you have the audience, you have the listeners, and you can take that and multiply it. So we're here to help you with that.
Absolutely.
So, what I do like about you is your sense of humor.
Yes.
And, you have an incredible gift for finding the funny in the middle of the heavy, which we're kind of like that
Yeah.
In the
too.
same way.
Because my mother always
You have
says,
to.
yeah, she always used to tell me, and when I was little, I remember thinking, she said, you know what? If you don't laugh, you have to laugh to keep from
I
crying,
have to keep from crying.
you know?
It's absolutely true.
And it gets you through a lot of things. So, and you've shared some hilarious, awkward moments throughout your recovery process. Tell the audience and tell our listeners a little bit about the compression vest situation.
Which one? When I had the thing on my chest. Is that what
Yes.
you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, when I freaked myself out. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
All
A little bit.
right. So yeah, this was ridiculous. So this was not too long into this was my mastectomy scar was still pretty raw at that point, right? It wasn't, I was 6 months out of my mastectomy, right?
Okay.
And one of the things, at that point, I'm doing my social very different at that point. I'm sort of just doing general awareness male breast cancer stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm sort of like giving out facts and information. Now I just do a lot of other things, but
Okay.
one of the things that you talk about is like symptoms of male breast cancer because people don't know, right? So I was like, what are the symptoms of male breast cancer? And
Yes.
one of those things can be the dimpling of the skin, right?
Mhm.
And the skin gets very dimpled.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm saying a couple times that week, dimpling of the skin and that kind of a thing. So I get up one day from laying in bed, and I'm scrolling on my phone or I'm creating content or whatever, and I get up and I go to take a shower, and I'm like, oh my God, because I have dimpled skin on my breast that does not have a mastectomy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I just went through this. Why didn't they find it? This is obviously what it is. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I don't know what this. And so I look and I wear these bracelets and I have them. I don't have them on my arm right now because I have lymphedema, so I have my compression.
Depression.
Right. But I used to wear a lot of these, for a little ring of these. And what was happening, I was laying in bed and they were compressing. The bracelets were up against my chest and the bracelets indented my chest.
Oh, okay.
Oops.
Oh.
So that's what created the dimpled skin was my stupid bracelets.
The poor bracelet.
Oh goodness. And let me tell you, what did you feel like when you realized that was it?
Right.
versus I have breast cancer in my other breast now.
Well, it was a huge sigh of relief, but at that point, I'm like, all right, like there was a half a second where I was like, all right, well, like I'm not screwing around. Like I want to be in surgery like next week. If I'm going to be recovering from one, I want to be
Ready to
recovering from
go.
both.
You're right.
Right? I don't want to be recovering from one and then wait 7 months and then go in for another one. That flashed through my head in that moment, and then I was like, wait,
Oh, poor
wait,
guy.
all right.
So let's talk about the pharmacy runs. Like I could only imagine the looks maybe from the pharmacist, and when you're asking for
Yeah.
like post-op supplies, like
Yeah.
that's reserved
For
on the
us.
other side. So
For
how was
women.
that?
Yeah.
What was that like?
So, oftentimes when I go, it's happened a couple times when I go to pick up my tamoxifen and Verzenio, right? These are the two major breast cancer drugs that I'm on right now.
Yes.
And they are estrogen, I always sort of get it wrong, estrogen blocking, they block the receptors for estrogen in my body, right?
Okay.
Because the theory is less estrogen in my body. I am estrogen positive in terms of my subtype of breast cancer. So the less estrogen there is in my body, because everybody has testosterone and estrogen in their body, and the less they have in my body, then the better off I'm going to be. So they put tamoxifen and Verzenio. So I've been asked twice at CVS, are you picking up your wife's medication? I'm like, nope, they're mine. Like, and but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, that happens, and it's more embarrassing for the other person. It doesn't bother us ever when we're sitting in like the breast cancer waiting room, and my wife often goes with me, right? And every other couple in there, the wife is the reason there, right?
Right.
And so we'll strike up a conversation with the couple sitting next to us, right? And we'll just be chatting, and the wife will ask the other, my wife, well, how long have you had it? And she's like, oh no, it's him. It's him.
him.
And they're like,
That's
oh,
that
I'm
one.
so sorry. Right. And so that happened. I mean, look, if you can't laugh at that, and look, I mean, in the moment, I'm like, okay, come on. But at the same time, I'm like, look, this happens, and I can either be miserable about it, or you can just take it with a grain of salt and educate somebody in the process, right? And not be a sorry, but
Yeah.
not just educate somebody in the process
Right.
and say, look, guys can get breast cancer too, and I don't need to go down the rabbit hole any further. Unless you want to ask another question, that's
There
fine. I'm
you
not
go.
going to go off on I'm not getting on a soapbox. But if you ask me some questions, sure, I can educate you. Sure, do you have a couple hours? But but yeah, I mean, it it is pervasive in every aspect of breast cancer that you want to be involved with, whether it's picking up your post-op stuff or my wife getting, you know, my wife being looked at funny when she's the only woman in a breast cancer caregiver group, right? She's the only
Wow.
woman there,
Mm.
right? And
That's
and
another
also
perspective you don't even think about.
I've been
Yeah.
I've been told I cannot go to a breast cancer support group because the women there have very private conversations, and I understand that women need safe spaces, and I really understand that. But at the same time, that doesn't make my mastectomy scar go away. That doesn't make my stage 4 breast cancer diagnosis go away. It doesn't do that. And so, like I was told, I approached a local place, in here near us, because they have in-person support groups,
Okay.
breast cancer and a metastatic breast
Breast
cancer
cancer.
group. And I was told that I couldn't join them because I was a guy. And I was like, well, that sucks to hear.
Right.
And I've done that. That was a rant that I've done, on social. It's pinned at the top of my socials. But it's one of those things that's like, come on, like, this is 2026. We have to figure this out,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
We have to. The facilitator of the group has to be able to manage both genders in these groups,
Yeah.
unless you are prostate cancer, right, or ovarian cancer, right.
Yeah.
Those are single
Single
gender,
sex.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You are only going to be a woman or a
Getting
man in
ovarian
those.
cancer or a woman
Right.
getting endometrial
Exactly.
cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, but like, when it comes to breast tissue, going back to every human mammal has breast tissue, like
Mhm.
the
Come on
support
now.
functions are just not there. And it's hurtful, right? I was angry. I was frustrated and I was angry. And again, I'm like, man, inclusion and diversity really sucks in this country.
Well, you know what, though, Jake? I look at it this way. Necessity is the mother of invention. Okay? So maybe this is your platform and this is your way to create that space for those who are like you, like minded, like
Right.
everything that's happening. This is your opportunity to platform that and make it happen. Okay? Nothing usually happens unless there's a need
Somebody's
for it.
gotta make it happen.
And there's a need for it.
Yep.
And obviously, you've got a platform, use it.
Right.
You know,
Thank you.
create it. Create it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I see myself, there are those 3 male breast cancer organizations have been doing, the Lord's work for the past 15 or 20 years and just banging their heads against walls for decades, and nobody's listening. And so, and men for a long time before that, the same thing, people were just not listening.
Mm-hmm.
And so, great. You're listening because I have a high follower count. Amazing. I don't really care, but if you're listening, that's the reason. I mean,
Yeah.
and so it opens doors for me. And look, I've been a PR guy and a publicist, and I've been the other side of me for a long time. So I turned all those skills onto me, and that's why this is successful, right? I've been doing social media for 20 years. So, but, there's still getting back to, I'm one of the first men to ever sit on one of these national Komen boards. I mean, that's what we broke the news here at the beginning, right?
Right.
And it shouldn't be like that, right? There should be men that feel comfortable. 2 weeks ago, I had a guy reach out to me privately. I don't have, and I understand, I'm going to say this, 50,000 followers is not an influencer whatsoever. I get that at all. But 50,000 in the cancer world is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And 50,000 in the male breast cancer world is a huge deal.
Huge.
And so every guy that reaches out to me, I will try to make some space for and DM back I can't answer all the DMs and everything that come in anymore.
Right.
But every man that does, 100%, I'm going to reach out. And there was a guy that reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I found you about a year ago, and I have watched every day of what you are going through." And he goes, "I had male breast cancer about 12 years ago, and
Mm.
nobody in my life besides my two children, my wife, and my mother knew I had breast cancer. They just
Wow.
knew I had cancer. They just knew they knew I was sick, or they knew I had cancer, because I was way too embarrassed to ever tell anybody that I had breast cancer." And he goes, "And to this day, nobody knows that I had breast cancer. But I've been watching you for a year, and I was finally brave enough to, on Facebook, change my little status to breast cancer survivor." And
Mm.
everybody was like, "I didn't know you had that." And they were all very supportive. And he said, "I would have never had the
Courage.
bravery, I think the
Mhm.
courage to do that
Mhm.
had you not been doing this." And
Yeah.
those are the kinds of stories that make me go, okay, when I'm sitting there, on the eighth take of a piece of content, and I'm like, why am I doing this? This is ridiculous. I'm
Yes.
literally
We
talking
get
to my
that. We get
phone.
that.
Right. And so, those are the moments when I know that I'm making real impact in people's lives, right? And and those kind of comments come in regularly, and those, when I say the community is great, the community is really great. We all support each other. I hope that I give the community back a portion of what they give to me,
Mm.
because they're pretty wonderful. Um,
Well, let me ask you this. If you could give one piece of advice to a man sitting at home right now who might be feeling a lump, is too tough or too scared to go to the doctor, what would that advice be, Jake?
my advice when I say that, when men reach out to me, sometimes on DMs, in the comments and stuff, they'll be like, "Hey, I found a lump and I'm really scared," and this does come up pretty regularly.
Mm.
And I start off by reassuring them that they have a 99% shot that it's not breast cancer, right?
Oh,
Because 99% of breast cancer cases are women,
yes.
1% are men.
That's true.
So the chances of that lump, or that weird little nodule, or that thing on your nipple, or the chances of that being breast cancer are extremely minute.
Mm.
However, you need to suck it up, and you need to go to the doctor. You
Yeah.
need to go. You just need to go. Don't wait. Go to the minute clinic. There's those easy, things that you could just, you don't have to go to the doctor. Even just going to the ER and saying, "Look, this is a weird thing. I just don't know what this is." Have somebody with an MD next to their name look at that lump, and then have them tell you that it's not anything to worry about. Now, doctors get it wrong, and I'm not saying they don't, but just, if men are that afraid, if men are that tough, if men are whatever they are, at least you're going to have somebody looking at you saying, you can go on, and there's going to, you're never going to know until you get a mammogram or a biopsy, right? You're not going to
Yes.
know.
Right. Right.
However, um, that's my advice, is that, look, the chances of it being breast cancer are extremely small. Don't work yourself up into a tizzy, because it's 1 in 8 women, right? That's the number. That's a scary number, right? My wife looks at 1 in 8 women and goes, "Damn, like, I have 8 friends. I have more than 8 friends, right?" And
Yeah.
you know, and so 1 in 8 women, 1 in 728 men, right? It's a very different. It's a very, very different ratio. So the chances of you having breast cancer are slim, but they are not none. And that's the part that we need to educate, is that, there's a couple celebrities out there that have male breast cancer, right?
Mhm.
And none of them have really gone super public with it. Um, the one that probably could do the most amount of work, and look, let's hope this gets to him, is Beyonce's dad. Beyonce's father has male breast cancer. But
Matthew
but
Knowles.
yep, and he um
I didn't know that.
Didn't
yeah,
know.
yeah, he doesn't publicize it a lot, and I'm like, man, you have such a platform, like
Mm.
it's out there, but
Yeah.
you have, not that he's gonna piggyback on Beyonce's next tour, with the male breast cancer booth out in the lobby, but like
How many
you can
lives could he
use
actually save
Just by
by
acknowledging it.
by
acknowledging it?
just acknowledging that I have breast cancer.
Yeah.
That would be a big deal, because you have a really famous daughter and son-in-law, and your son-in-law could help you in this avenue as well, because Jay-Z, being a guy, and he could very easily say, hey, my dad, my dad-in-law has this, and he could use his platform in October and say, hey, it would be a very easy thing to do, but again, it is not in a man's nature to say I have breasts, right? It is just not.
It isn't.
And when you
Whole system
have
is
to get
failing
over
us.
that hurdle, you have to get that over that hurdle
Yes.
of referring to them as breasts, because I certainly never did, and I don't even think I do now. Like, even though I have one left, but I'm like, I know, yes, when I refer to breast cancer, but I'm not like, oh yeah, my breast is hurting. I'm like, that would be weird. I don't, I would never say that. But even, it's just societally,
Yeah.
I do
people
have
aren't
an
ready to
audience
hear it yet, and
question.
so yeah.
We have an audience question. One of our listeners had one.
I have a question. So
Yep.
we're kind of wanting to know, just from the information that you have personally, have you noticed any differences for male breast cancer versus female breast cancer? Like what could you tell men to maybe pay attention to in their bodies
Or
or
expectations
expectations?
during this process.
Sure. So, I think when women are primarily looking for lumps and stuff like that, and sure, men present as lumps. I felt mine when I was putting on deodorant, and I was like, oh, that's weird, and it was probably maybe the size of a dime underneath my
Mm.
skin, and I was like, oh, that's weird. That ended up being an enlarged lymph node, right? A cancerous lymph node. That's why it was so big. Um, but so there's certainly the lump. Men can also have pain in their nipple area, and there's also because I had a tumor literally on the backside of my nipple, which sort of protruded my nipple out more than the other one, right? So yeah, I mean, guys are always sort of looking at their chest in the mirror, checking themselves out, trying to figure out, man, should I go on a diet? Do I still look good? All those things, right? And I guess after a while I was like, man, my right nipple looks a little bit off, right? And it just did. It looked a little bit. And so then we get back to that dimpled skin anywhere. Right. It's the inversion. And that can happen anywhere on the breast tissue, right? And so, we have this, there's this thing in the cancer community. It's funny because it's only in the breast cancer community, and it should be in the everywhere community, which is feel it on the first, right? When you're supposed to be, you do your self breast exam on the first, right? And men are not going to sit there and do self breast exams. I can tell you that, because I have another breast, and I've never done another. Of course
Jake.
I get a PET scan every 3 months. I'm fine.
Okay. You get a pass.
You get a pass just for that.
Yeah. I get a PET scan every 3 months. I mean, literally, I smoked for a few years when I was in the Marine Corps, and I always wondered, oh man, did I do some real damage? And again, I have a PET scan every 3 months, and they're like, oh no, your lungs are great. I'm like, excellent. I escaped the lung cancer part, so that's good.
Okay. So your story it's literally a masterclass in resilience and the power of just staying positive and witty through so much change, and we just want to say thank you for
Thank you. Thank you, Jen.
bringing so much awareness.
Thank you
turning
so
this
much.
into life-saving action.
Yes. And we
you guys.
so
I really
appreciate your
appreciate that.
voice. We so appreciate your voice. And if you haven't been told yet, you are the difference, okay?
Literally.
You are making a difference with this. And even if it's just one voice, because you are one voice,
Yes.
sometimes one voice
Is all you need.
is louder than 1,000 voices, okay? You have a tool called the internet.
Yes.
And you have us, and you have all these 50. How many did you say? 50,000.
50,000 followers.
50,000
Yes.
followers. Imagine everyone who's attached
Who
to
is
those
shared
followers.
And
Okay,
shared and shared.
your voice
Right.
is being heard, and we're going to magnify that voice. Okay,
Oh,
so
I appreciate you.
we thank you so much for sharing. You know, this is not easy. Even for women,
Right.
okay? So for a
Right.
male to be so sincere and
Yes.
vulnerable in sharing that space with us, we thank you. And we honor
Thank you,
your
guys.
courage, okay? And we ask that you keep being loud.
Keep being
okay?
loud.
Keep being loud. And I promise you, we will have you back
You're gonna
again.
come back.
We'd love to have you
Great.
back again to continue
Excellent.
to tell us about your journey, to continue to share with our audience your everything that you've gone through. And like you said, women talk about this
We
a lot.
talk, and
There's so much movement for women. There's nothing for men. Men want to hear this. Men
They
need to hear this. And they need to know it's okay to talk about
And they
it.
need to learn how to check their breast tissue. Like,
Right.
hello.
Just right. And if you find a lump, like tell somebody. Like
Tell
like,
somebody.
even if you
Yeah.
just right, just tell somebody, right? And then
Yeah.
and then the ball will start
Exactly.
rolling. But
Yeah, don't let the pink fool you. This is a human issue.
Human.
Not just a woman's issue.
Human.
And check on your brothers, your fathers, your uncles. Check on them.
Life is always gonna throw like some unexpected chapters in your way, but like we always say at the Daily Balance, through the trials and the triumphs, we are all a work in progress.
We are all a work in progress. Jake, we thank you for your time. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Is there any resources you'd like to direct our
Yes.
audience to?
Yeah, I mean, really one of the best places to find if you're brand new to this and you're like, where do I even start? The Male Breast Cancer Global Alliance, which is, they have a mbgca.org. They're a great place to start. The Male Breast Cancer Happens people are great. Peggy and Brett are fantastic. And then if you are a genetic, because there is one that is specific for men with genetic breast cancer, and that's called His Breast Cancer. And they do a fantastic job there. Now, those are the three male breast cancer orgs. But I will tell you that the National Breast Cancer Foundation has a fantastic page on male breast cancer. And the Susan G. Komen has really sort of in the past couple years is really, they're sort of the big dog, and they own the pink ribbon, and they own the pink world and all that stuff. The Susan G. Komen walks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They've come a long way in accepting men. And again, back to the beginning of all this, we they accepted me onto their national board, which that's
Once
that's
again,
pretty damn cool.
congratulations. Congratulations.
Amazing.
And
Thank you.
Jake, we look forward to hearing more about your journey and your progress. We ask that you please stay connected with us. And also, if people want to talk to you,
Yes.
and
Where do they
and
go?
where tell everybody
where
your
to go.
socials. Tell everybody your socials.
Sure. So it's very clever and very it's at the guy with stage 4 breast cancer, and the 4 is a number. So at the guy with stage 4 breast cancer. It's also at the guy with stage 4 breastcancer.com, because I have a website there with this podcast will be on there because I put all the podcasts that I'm on. So there's a repository of podcasts on there. There's all kinds of stuff on there. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Well, great. And you will be back.
We have to have you back
Yes.
now.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
You heard that.
Can't
You heard
wait.
that, right?
Can't wait. Can't wait. Can't
Well,
wait.
it's been our pleasure, Jake, and we have loved hearing your story. And we're going to pray for you and hope
you.
that we can continue to encourage you and sharing everything in your journey and letting everyone know, hey, this isn't just about women,
No, it's not.
and you've got to keep your loud going, loud,
I
you
will.
know.
I will. I will. I
All right.
appreciate you both.
Well, we thank you, and we'll be talking to you soon. As soon as we get ready to air, we will definitely reach out to you, and you'll be able to see
Awesome.
all the things we talked about. And again, we'll have you back. And if you know of anyone who you think might be good for this platform that we can also
Yeah.
Highlight, yes.
please by all means share with us because we are
I'll let you
great for
know.
highlighting. Thank you for tuning in. Don't let the pink fool you. This is a human issue, not just a woman's issue. Check in on your brothers, your fathers, your friends, your uncles.
Life is always going to throw some unexpected chapters your way, but as we always say here at the Daily Balance, through the trials and triumphs, we are all works in progress.
Absolutely. Listen, thank you for tuning in again and seeking a deeper understanding. Don't forget, like and subscribe to our channels. It goes a long way to help supporting us and our important issues. And you know what? The conversation doesn't just stop there.
Never does.
And for our dedicated supporters, stick around for our after show called
Tea Time. Tea Time is where we get to connect with our closest community. And if you want to be a part of that inner circle,
Tell them all about it, Brittany.
Amazing mother-daughter duo, and you want to have instant access, you want to go to www.thedailybalancemedia.com to subscribe and join our community for Tea Time. Until our next episode, always remember, count it all joy.
That's it right there.